Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic. People of Reddit, what is one thing your family will never understand about you? Probably a bit more depressing than the answers you were expecting. I have 3 siblings who are all at least 10 years older than me. They don't understand that the mother I grew up with isn't the mother they grew up with. They remember a mother who was always at home when they finished school. Who was there for every sports day, every school play. Who was there when they had children of their own and needed advice. I remember a mother who left me repeatedly. Who left for the final time when I was 11 and could only spare 3 hours a week to visit, despite not working and living 15 minutes away. Who didn't give a shit about anything I did at school, how much I struggled being abandoned, or how difficult she made life for me and Dad by contributing absolutely nothing financially. She died years ago, and we can't ever mourn or reminisce together because I can't bear to hear them talk about this amazing woman they all miss when all I want to do is tell them how fucking selfish she was, and I would have spoken to her for the past 20 years even if she was still with us. That sucks, man. Sort of went the opposite way in my family. Mom and Dad got more mellow by the time my sisters came around. They just don't grasp or understand all the ways Mom and Dad weren't there for me, for a long time, or the difference between what they expected from the oldest and only son, and what they were expected to do. Don't get me wrong, we managed to fix things between us over the last 17 years, but things still helped me get a personality disorder. Same. I have 2 younger brothers, 3 years younger and 13 years. When I grew up I experienced getting yelled at while watching my siblings do the same stuff and get coddled and supported through it. They both worked full-time, so I had to be in charge at home. I can still see it now, how much more present they are with my youngest brother. How they praise his achievements and tell him how clever he is. I never had any of that growing up. I had to be the one always giving support. It has gotten better over the years, but I still can't talk about any personal issues with them. That the reason I have found success, both personal and financial, in life is because I watched them for years and do the exact opposite. Bad part is that they seem to reward and normalize bad decisions. I do that in my job as a teacher. I had 2 professors in grad school, of all places, who were literally the worst teachers ever. If I'm unsure about a course of action, I ask myself what I think they would do and then do the opposite of that. Hasn't failed yet. Grad school professors tend to be really great researchers and shit teachers, so it's not that surprising. I turned out fine because of the years and thousands of dollars spent on therapy far away from them. I always say I turned out fine not because of them but in spite of them. My wife has an abusive father, and unfortunately she isn't willing to break contact with him. We live pretty far from him now though, so we at least don't see him often. It pisses me off to an extent that words can't quite capture when he talks about how great she turned out and acts like it has anything to do with him. She struggles every single day with the baggage left over from her childhood abuse from this asshole. She managed to rise above all that and do really well for herself, but it has nothing to do with him or his bullshit parenting. But you can tell he thinks of himself as a great father because his 2 kids managed to make something of themselves despite his bullshit. That I'm bad with calling them, but that doesn't mean I don't love them to death. I just don't enjoy talking on the phone. My mom complained to me that I never call her. I told her that phones do work both ways, since she never called me herself before. We still don't phone much. I've been maintaining this line of thinking for years. Mom always gives me grief for not calling family members, but if they wanted to hear from me or needed to tell me something, my number hasn't changed in years. Families seem to default to phone calls as guilt currency to say the younger generation isn't doing enough when the older generation won't put in the basic work to maintain a relationship. /Rant. That I am in fact funny. I have to remind my wife about this every day. Yeah, I have to remind her, too. That I don't always want to wear my hearing aids. It's exhausting to constantly hear sounds you normally never hear. /understand. As someone who is hearing, but struggles with sensory overload, I can empathize with being tired of hearing things. I get irrationally angry at too much noise. My mom thinks I should just relax, but you can't relax sensory overload. That I've literally never done anything that they've accused me of over the years. And now they don't understand why I don't like to be around them. Being the family scapegoat is a pain in the ass. It makes me sad. Narcissists are gonna narcissist. My dad blames me for blowing up a plane with him and me inside and plunging our family into medical debt. It was his fault, even the accident report blamed him. A lot of comments are asking for more details. So there was a gas leak in the high-pressure line that went through the fuselage. He installed rubber tubes with clamps instead of the aluminum flanged lines required. The rubber tubing spewed aerosolized gasoline into the cabin and caused the plane to explode when we landed. It burned to the ground. We ended up in the ICU and helicoptered to a burn center. I had an ounce of nail polish remover in my luggage. He said that caused it. I'm gonna need more details. Love how matter-of-fact you say that. Please tell us your story. My mom is a narcissist too, and she says it is my fault. She decided to quit her job when I was a kid and now I am obliged to support her. Lol. Pity I live in Brazil where by law I am in fact obliged to give her money. We have a vulnerable elder pension law. Not all of my family do, but some think it's very weird and a bad thing that I'm prioritizing travel and seeing the world while I'm young-ish. Left the US for the first time at 19, I'm 28 now and have been to 44 countries and 38 US states. I've worked my ass off, saved up, then traveled. Have done that 2 times now. Currently working hard again in preparation for my next trip. They all tell me to work now and travel when I'm retired. In the year before COVID I backpacked Asia, rode a motorcycle through 14 European countries, and lived out of a van in New Zealand. I don't think I'd enjoy those things as much when I'm 65. Enjoy them. You'd be lucky if you can do that at all after grinding your body up working. Travel forever if you can. That I sometimes don't feel like doing certain hobbies, for example reading, which I absolutely love, for a couple of months. That doesn't mean that I'm becoming dumb or anything, I just want to do other things. And no, I am not obsessed with video games, and I can play a lot for a couple of months, but I'll get bored and go back to my old hobbies. It's a circle of alternating hobbies, and in the end, I spend more or less the same time with each hobby. Now please shut up and let me play Minecraft, or read, or play bass for 5h straight. Haha, exactly the same for me. Nice to read that I'm not alone, because most of my friends don't get it either. My desire to be left alone, I love solitude. So do I, and my mom is the exact opposite, needs to be talking to people all day, hates being alone. She can't understand why I like to be alone and always asks me if I'm okay or if I'm too lonely when I spend a day or 2 by myself. Like I'm good, you don't need to keep asking, you know this, but she can't comprehend it. I'm very happy I have the weekend to myself, it's just peaceful and helps my introverted self recharge after long days of interacting with people during the week. I'm also an only child, so I think that has something to do with it. I'm the only person in my entire family that is. That I have young onset Parkinson's disease. They don't get that I can't write or balance things. Despite scans and specialists, they think I'm too young, 36M. They keep telling me to fucking breathe and it'll all be fixed. I swear if one more person tells me to fucking breathe through tremors and falls, I may tell them that they should have been a blowjob. This one I can relate to. I've had weak, unstable, hyperflexible joints since I was a kid. I'm now in my late 2020s and have arthritis in a couple joints. My dad has always been a proponent of you just need to exercise more. I took up pole dancing as a hobby, which obviously I couldn't tell him about, and that didn't fix it. Then I started horseback riding, which, surprise surprise, also didn't fix it. I got myself a Pilates and yep, my knees still fucky hurt, man. After 3 years, I went home to visit for 10 days and quickly realized 10 days, as much as I love them all, was way too long. I am, in fact, a fully grown 35-year man with a serious job who can take care of himself. I am not the same 24-year-old who left a decade ago, and even though intellectually they know this, it doesn't alter their behavior toward me whatsoever. I had to actually explain to my father, you don't know what I do on a daily basis in my job, so how can you assume your opinion on whether or not I am indispensable there means anything? You literally don't know what it is that I do. That seemed to sort of get the point across. I think. I don't know, because I didn't push it any further. Same thing happened to me in a sense. I joined the military right after HS graduation and got out about 6 months ago. Decided to move back home and settle down. My wife, children, and I stayed with my parents for about 3 months while our house was being built, and my dad asked, "Are you okay? You've changed a lot since you joined the military. I responded by saying I've seen the world and experienced different cultures from a different lens than that of Fox News. Yes, I'm different from 12 years ago. The military destroyed my body, gave me suicidal thoughts, and threw margarine at me like it was candy. I'm pissed all the time because every time I try to fall asleep, I can't because of my night terrors. I never cry anymore. I don't know how to show affection to my wife or kids. I haven't enjoyed a groundbreaking hurdle my children have cleared because I'm numb. Yes, I'm fucking different. He began to cry and I've never seen that man so vulnerable before. That moment was very eye-opening for me because I've never spoken to him like that. I decided the next day to make an appointment. I'm on antidepressants now and have been finally enjoying life and watching my kids grow every waking moment. Damn dude, I'm glad you are doing better and getting help. I've had a few friends that went into the military and their story is shockingly similar to yours. A friend of mine whom I've known since the 4th grade has never been the same since his service. I wish more people knew and understood just what military service actually costs the people that serve. From one random internet stranger to another, take care of yourself and it's good to hear things are on the mend. Fucking hell, this makes me think of my dad. He brings up stupid shit I did or the people I hung out with in high school constantly. I graduated in 09. None of the shit I did back then is in any way relevant to what I do today. Yes, I wrecked my car. I was a bad driver. I'm now officially diagnosed ADHD and he still brings up the fact that I forgot things at the drop of a hat or didn't see things that were directly in front of me. That I just had to pay attention. Good lord, I didn't expect to get this fired up about it. My dad will still occasionally reference a guy I dated for 2 months when I was a junior in high school. In 1988. I got one for you. My parents vehemently and angrily denied my ADHD diagnosis as a child. In my late 2020s I started doing a lot of research myself and was about ready to go try and get diagnosed. I get a call from my mother. I saw this thing on 60 Minutes about ADHD and it really explains a lot of the issues you had as a child. It took all my willpower not to just hang up at that moment, because literally on the table in front of me I had the paperwork from all of my school years they left for me when they moved, that had all the proof that they had been told I had ADHD and they refused to have me diagnosed. Oh honey, I saw this thing on 60 Minutes and you remember everything we used to physically and mentally abuse you for. I think it might have been that disorder we denied. Oof, that hurts. I hate it when that happens. I don't necessarily relate to you, but I relate to that feeling a lot. Parents not understanding what it is that you are exactly doing and, therefore, believing that your time is dispensable and worthless. Yeah, I dislike this part too. They thought I just stayed at home all day and click on the computer for my job, not doing real work like he did decades ago driving a taxi around the city. I have it so easy.